Welcome to Get Your FRQ On. In this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to graph radical functions on your graphing calculator. First thing you'll need to do is go to your function editor, and depending on what root you want to use in your radical function, for example, if you want to use a square root radical, that's typically going to be a separate button. You can often access that without going into a special menu. There's the square root key on this one. Notice it's a second function, so you have to hit the second button first. Otherwise, most of these will be under a separate menu on this calculator. That's the math menu. So if I click on that button, you'll notice I have a couple of different options here. This is the cubing function. It's not the cube root function, but I do have two different radical functions that I can use. I can take the cube root specifically, or I can choose a root to take for my radical function. Now, on the older models of this particular calculator and families of calculators from this brand, if you were going to use the option 5 here, you would typically have to choose the root first, then go back and use this key, and then finish writing your function or your expression or whatever. However, in the updated version, you do not need to do that. So I'm going to click on 5 here and notice that as soon as I do that, I can choose the root after I input the radicals. So let's say I want the 5th root of x, and then I just want to look at what that looks like graphically. There we go. There's a couple of different other ways you can do this. If you're familiar with rational exponents, you can also get the 5th root of x by graphing x to the 1/5 power. And if these are the same, this red graph should trace over the blue graph, and when we look at that, that is actually what happens. But you can do even more with that. Let's say I want to apply a radical function to a more complicated expression. Let's say I want to do the 5th root of x squared, and just basically identify any differences between the graph of that function and the first one. Notice it is not the same function. So these are a couple of different ways that you can access radicals on a graphing calculator. This is how you would graph them. If you're just interested in using them for the purposes of evaluating an expression where you know all the inputs, you would access them the same way. You would just do that on the home screen as opposed to the function editor, but that is how you access them.